That sudden rush, your heart pounding so hard you can hear it in your ears. Your breathing quickening, shallow, urgent, your stomach tightening like it's bracing for impact. And in that instant, everything around you feels sharper, louder, and almost too real. That is the fight or flight response. It's your body's ancient survival system, designed to keep you alive, a system that has served humans for hundreds of thousands of years. The problem is, your brain doesn't care if the threat is a tiger in the grass or an email from your boss marked urgent. To your nervous system, both can feel the same. And when this state gets triggered too often, when the alarm bells don't shut off, you start living in a world where your body thinks it's constantly under attack. That's exhausting. It wears you down physically and mentally, and over time, it can make you feel like you're losing control. That's where emotional first aid comes in. Think of it like physical first aid. If you cut your finger, you clean it, protect it, and give it what it needs to heal. If you twist your ankle, you rest it and ice it to prevent further injury. Emotional first aid works the same way. It's about spotting the early signs of a stress flare-up and applying the right treatment before the damage spreads. Today, we're going to focus on calming that fight-flight system fast. With simple breathing techniques and mindset shifts that signal to your body, it's safe, we can stand down. But before we get to the tools, let's understand what's really happening in your body when fight-flight is triggered. Because once you understand the mechanics, you'll know exactly where to intervene. When you sense danger, real or imagined, the amygdala in your brain fires a warning signal. It sends a rapid message to the hypothalamus. That message is basically, sound the alarm. Your sympathetic nervous system flips on like a switch. Adrenal glands release adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Your pupils widen so you can see more. Your heart races to pump blood to your muscles. Your breathing speeds up to flood your body with oxygen. And digestion slows down, because who cares about lunch when you might need to run for your life? It's a powerful system. But it's meant for short bursts, not for the constant low-grade stress of modern life. The good news, this system has an off switch, and that switch is your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's relaxation response. When you activate it, heart rate slows, breathing deepens, muscles relax, and the flood of stress hormones begins to drain away. The fastest way to hit that switch, through your breath. Why? Because breathing is the one autonomic function you can consciously control. You can't just tell your heart to slow down. You can't just command your digestion to restart, but you can change your breathing, and your nervous system listens. The first breathing technique is called the physiological sigh. It's a powerful, fast way to bring your body back toward calm. It's a breathing pattern your body already uses, especially when you're crying or recovering from a scare. You've probably done it naturally without even noticing. Here's how to do it on purpose. Inhale deeply through your nose, filling your lungs about 80%. Then, without exhaling, take a second shorter inhale through your nose, just enough to top off your lungs. Then exhale fully through your mouth, slow and controlled, almost like you're sighing out the last bit of tension. That's one physiological sigh. Do it 2 or 3 times, and you'll feel your heart rate begin to drop. Why it works? That double inhale helps inflate tiny air sacs in your lungs called alveoli, allowing more oxygen to get in and more carbon dioxide to get out. The long exhale signals your parasympathetic system to engage. You can use this technique anywhere, before a big presentation, after reading a stressful text, or when you feel panic building. It takes less than a minute, and the effect is often immediate. The next technique is called 4-7-8 breathing. This one's a little slower, and it's designed to not just calm you, but also train your body to stay calm longer. Breathe in quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath gently for a count of 7. Then exhale completely through your mouth, making a soft whoosh sound for a count of 8. Repeat this cycle 4 times. It slows your heart rate, increases oxygen exchange, and tells your nervous system we're safe. This is especially powerful before bed or any time you feel your mind racing. Another method is box breathing. Imagine drawing a box in your mind. Each side of the box is a phase of your breath. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Repeat the cycle. The steady rhythm creates a sense of stability, and it keeps your mind anchored to something predictable, which pulls you away from spiraling thoughts. Box breathing is a favorite among athletes, public speakers, and even Navy SEALs because it works under intense pressure. When fight-flight takes over, your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, gets overridden by survival circuits. You can't logic your way out of a full-blown stress response. But you can send a physical signal that safety has returned, and breath is the fastest signal we have. When your body has been signaled to stand down through the breath, you create a small but powerful window, a moment where the storm begins to clear, and your mind can once again participate in its own rescue. This is when mindset becomes your second tool, because the fight-flight system doesn't just react to the world as it is, it reacts to the world as you perceive it. Your thoughts can amplify danger or diffuse it. One of the most effective mindset hacks is called naming the story. In the heat of a stress reaction, your mind starts telling a fast, dramatic narrative. This is terrible. I can't handle this. Everything is going to go wrong. That's the primitive brain speaking, the part wired for threat detection, not nuance. Naming the story means pausing and saying, even silently, the story I'm telling myself is, and then stating it plainly. This creates distance between you and the narrative. It allows you to see it as a mental event, not an absolute truth. When you name the story, you make space to choose a different one. Instead of "this meeting will destroy me," you can shift to "this meeting will be challenging, but I can prepare and handle it." Your nervous system begins to recalibrate because the danger now feels manageable. Another tool is future self-grounding. When your fight-flight response is roaring, your mind collapses into the present moment's discomfort. You forget that moments pass, that your state will change. By picturing yourself a few hours from now, after the challenge is over, you remind your brain that this is temporary. See yourself walking out of the meeting relieved. Visualize finishing the workout proud. Imagine the argument resolved and your body relaxed. This kind of time shifting can reduce the intensity of the present reaction. Then there's the language you use internally. Fight-flight feeds on absolutes. Words like always, never, ruined. These lock the nervous system into a defensive posture. Instead, choose language that leaves room for possibility. This is difficult, but I have options. This feels overwhelming now, but it will pass. Your body listens to these cues just as much as your mind does. Alongside breath and language, grounding through the senses is one of the quickest ways to turn off the stress alarm. When your brain is hijacked by the amygdala, it's trapped in imagined or anticipated danger. Your senses, however, exist only in the real, physical now. Engaging them can pull your attention out of the mental loop. One method is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Go slowly, letting your awareness rest on each sense. This is not about perfection, it's about returning your focus to the concrete present. If you want a faster sensory reset, cold exposure works remarkably well. Splash cold water on your face, hold an ice cube in your palm, place a cold compress at the back of your neck. This triggers the mammalian dive reflex, slowing your heart rate and redirecting blood flow toward your core. It's a direct line to calming the nervous system. Music, too, can be a grounding ally. Slow, rhythmic patterns with a steady beat can entrain your body's rhythms to match. If you've ever noticed your breathing naturally sync to a calm song, you've felt this in action. Once you've used breath, mindset, and sensory grounding to reduce the initial surge, you can apply deeper emotional first aid, practices that help you repair and strengthen your resilience for the next time the alarm goes off. One of these is micro-recovery breaks, short, intentional pauses during your day to reset your system before stress compounds. This could be a 60-second physiological sigh, a brief walk outside, or even 1 minute of closing your eyes and feeling your breath. These breaks prevent the baseline level of tension from climbing to the point where fight-flight triggers over something minor. Another practice is rehearsing calm. Just as athletes visualize their performance, you can visualize yourself responding to stress in a composed way. The more vividly you imagine yourself breathing steadily, thinking clearly, and speaking calmly under pressure, the more your brain treats that as a reference point. When the real moment comes, it feels less foreign. Equally important is reframing the fight-flight response itself. Instead of treating it as an enemy, see it as a loyal, if sometimes overzealous guardian. Its job is to keep you alive, even if it sometimes misreads the situation. Thank it for its service, then gently let it know, "I've got this now." This shift removes the secondary stress of resenting your own reactions. It turns the process into cooperation rather than combat. And over time, your nervous system learns that it doesn't need to sound the alarm as loudly or as often. But emotional first aid isn't just a solo skill. The people you interact with can influence your stress level as much as your own thoughts do. Connection itself is one of the most powerful antidotes to fight-flight. When you're in safe company, someone who listens without judgment, someone whose presence you trust, your body releases oxytocin, a hormone that counteracts stress. This means reaching out is not weakness, it's biology. Speaking to a friend, sending a message, or even being physically near someone you feel safe with can downshift your nervous system faster than going it alone. Still, there will be moments when you are by yourself, and in those, self-talk becomes your companion. Keeping your inner voice calm, measured, and encouraging is not about ignoring reality. It's about keeping your system in a state where you can face reality. Breathing, grounding, language shifts, connection. These are your core emotional first aid tools. But just like physical first aid, they work best when practiced before you need them. Think of it as building muscle memory for calm. The more you practice these in low-stress moments, the faster and more instinctive they become in high-stress ones. Because the truth is, calming your fight-flight system isn't just about putting out fires. It's about rewiring the way your body responds in the first place. Imagine your stress response like a smoke alarm. It's meant to go off when there's a real fire. But if it's so sensitive that it shrieks every time you make toast, it's not helpful. Over time, through intentional practice, you can recalibrate that alarm so it only triggers when it actually needs to. One of the most effective ways to retrain your system is through exposure in safety. This means introducing your body to mild stress while you are in a safe, controlled environment and pairing that stress with calm recovery. For example, taking a brisk cold shower for 30 seconds, then practicing slow breathing until you feel fully relaxed again, or doing a short burst of intense exercise, then lying still while focusing on your heartbeat slowing down. You are teaching your body that spikes in arousal can resolve naturally, and that recovery is always possible. Another practice is deliberate downshifting at set intervals throughout the day. Many people wait until they feel overwhelmed before they try to calm down. But by that point, the chemicals in your body have already surged. It's like trying to slow down a freight train halfway down the hill. Instead, you can set reminders every hour or two to check in. Feel your shoulders. Notice your jaw. Scan for tension in your stomach or hands. And if you notice even a small amount of tension, apply a 30-second breath reset right there. This prevents tension from stacking and keeps you below the threshold where fight-flight kicks in full force. We can also use posture as a tool. The body and brain are in constant conversation, and your posture sends signals about safety or threat. When you hunch forward, close off your chest, or make yourself small, your brain interprets it as a defensive stance. When you open your chest, drop your shoulders, and allow your breath to expand, you're sending a quiet but powerful signal. We are not under attack. Try this right now. Sit or stand taller. Inhale fully, letting your ribs expand. Exhale slowly, and notice how your mind responds. And then there's the practice of orienting. This is a simple but profound technique drawn from somatic therapy. When your nervous system senses possible danger, your attention narrows to scan for threats. This tunnel vision keeps you on edge. Orienting reverses that by inviting your eyes and head to gently look around your environment. Slowly turn your head to the left. Notice what's there. Turn to the right. Notice that too. Let your eyes land on a few neutral or pleasant things, maybe a plant, a beam of light, the texture of a wall. As you take in your surroundings, your brain gets the message, I have checked, and there is no threat here. Visualization can also be a rapid reset, but it works best when it's sensory-rich. Instead of simply imagining being on a beach, involve all your senses. Feel the sand under your feet, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the smell of salt water, the sound of waves. The more your brain buys into the scene, the more your body will respond as if it were real. Because the nervous system does not perfectly distinguish between vividly imagined safety and actual safety. A long-term approach to emotional first aid involves balancing your baseline nervous system tone. Think of it like keeping your stress thermostat set at a comfortable level. Practices like yoga, tai chi, or mindful walking can serve as ongoing maintenance. They keep your parasympathetic system active enough that when stress comes, it's not starting from zero. Sleep plays a bigger role here than most realize. When you are sleep deprived, your amygdala, the alarm system in your brain, becomes significantly more reactive. It's like giving it a hair trigger. Prioritizing consistent, good quality sleep is one of the most underrated forms of stress prevention. And that means setting a wind-down routine that signals to your body, we're safe to power down. Dimming lights, lowering noise, avoiding high stimulation inputs before bed. Nutrition also affects fight-flight regulation. Too much caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, can mimic the sensation of danger, racing heart, jittery limbs, and your body can misinterpret those sensations as a real threat. Balancing your meals with protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates helps maintain steady blood sugar, which keeps your nervous system from swinging wildly. And don't underestimate the power of hydration. Dehydration can increase cortisol levels and make your body feel subtly under threat. Drinking water regularly is one of the simplest ways to reduce unnecessary stress signals. Let's talk about how to apply these tools in real situations. Imagine you're about to walk into a high-stakes conversation with your boss. You feel your chest tighten, your breathing gets shallow. Step 1. Pause outside the door and take 2 physiological sighs. Step 2. Drop your shoulders, open your posture. Step 3. Tell yourself, the story I'm telling myself is that this will go badly. The reality is I have prepared and I can handle this. Then walk in. Or let's say you're stuck in traffic, running late for an appointment. Your mind is racing through worst-case scenarios. Your hands are gripping the wheel tight. You can't change the traffic, but you can change your state. Loosen your grip. Notice the texture of the steering wheel. Find 5 things outside the car to name. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. Your heart rate will slow, and you'll think more clearly about how to handle the situation once you arrive. If a sudden argument with a loved one pushes you into fight-flight, the key is to interrupt the escalation before it spirals. Even saying, I need a moment to gather my thoughts, and stepping into another room for 1 minute of breathing can save both the conversation and the relationship. Over time, these become second nature. You start to notice the early signs, slightly faster breathing, a small knot in the stomach, a subtle tension in the jaw, and you address them before they snowball. There's one last piece, self-compassion. People often get frustrated when they can't stay calm or shouldn't feel anxious. But the fight-flight system is not a flaw. It is an ancient, brilliant survival design. The fact that it sometimes overreacts is not a personal weakness. It's just the cost of having such a fast, powerful alarm system. Instead of blaming yourself, thank your body for looking out for you, then use the tools you've learned to bring it back to balance. And remember, the more you practice emotional first aid when you're calm, the faster it will work when you're not. This is not just stress management, it's nervous system training. And just like physical training, results compound over time. You become the person who can step into chaos and still think clearly, who can handle life's shocks without being knocked down for long, who can respond rather than react. Because at the end of the day, calming your fight-flight response is not about becoming unshakable. It's about recovering quickly. It's about having the confidence to know that no matter what happens, you have the tools to bring yourself back to center. And that is a skill that changes everything.